Flint-Smith, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show once again.
No problem. Good to see you.
You too. Now, for people who want to know what uncensored is, uncensored's my way of showing people that even if a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of disabilities or learning disabilities. But you should never give up or have people label you, and you should prove to them, no matter what, you can still amount to something. It's a half hour of your time. And starting off, what can you tell us about how you became an actor and a brand endorser or endorsement or
Brand
ambassador?
ambassador. It's a little side gig that I have.
And
But
the last question I was going to ask you is, besides being an actor, a brand ambassador, and how did you start your own company as well?
well, I'll tell you what. Getting a little creative is what it boils down to. Which one would you like me to start with? Because there's actually three separate stories that go with that.
It's completely up to you. You have as much time as you like.
Okay. Um, we'll start with acting because that's really what it's all about for me. Kind of a funny story. I grew up in a small town, USA, a little town called House Springs, also known as High Ridge, but we'll just go ahead and say St. Louis, because I'm assuming most people know that better. Um, in High Ridge, there's not a lot to do, at least not a lot creatively. So, I was in high school. Camping is a big extracurricular for us. Bonfires, anything outside, which I really do miss. It's a nice little thing to do. Getting in touch with nature and all that. But as a little hobby with my father and I, we used to go Civil War reenacting. If you're familiar with that is. I think most people are. It was kind of like a father-son bonding thing. We'd go out, shoot some guns, ride some horses, do some saber fighting. Just kind of just go crazy with that. Let off some steam, get away from all the tech. No cell phones, just camping on the open fire and all that. Um, we've been doing that for so long that eventually that led to feature films. They're looking for locations, looking for actors, looking for talent. And I guess someone had the bright idea. They're like, oh, why don't we use these guys who already have their own horses, their own tack, their own period outfits. And that way we don't have to like hire people and train them for months or whatever to do this. So my dad actually got hired as a on the History Channel and PBS for a couple things. Now, the first one, I was only 15 at the time. And, I wasn't involved in the arts at all. I just kind of played basketball, wrestled, volleyball, all that, and hung out with my friends. But, when dad said, hey, I got hired on a movie set, I'm going to road trip out to Kansas, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I could take a day off of school, making an extra long weekend and head up there with you. He's like, okay, cool. And they didn't really want me at the time. I was only
Right.
15. There's different laws and stuff for that, so they didn't want to deal with it. But I got to hang on the sidelines, and observe the movie being made. And it was really cool, and I was watching everything that was going on. And my dad ended up having to do a scene where he was running through the creek on our horse, Elvis. I love that horse. Um, he was doing this, and there was a guy they actually brought in from Hollywood who was a stuntman, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't get the horse to go through the water. It was too deep. So they're like, "Oh God, what are we gonna do? We need this guy." And then my dad convinces him, "Hey, let my kid have a shot at it. He knows what he's doing." And I rocked it. It was the easiest thing for me. I'd done it a million times. I was like, "Oh, is this work? Is this hard? I don't know." So I did it, and they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll put you in here anyway and just fudge your paperwork. Oh, you're 18, right? Yeah, you're good. So I got a little taste of it there. We did 2 days on set, and I got to ride around with the Jesse James gang and be part of the team. And I'll tell you what, after I walked away from that, I just remember thinking, I'm like, I can make money doing this. Like, this is a possibility. Like, I've never been to Hollywood, but it's coming to me. So, maybe I'll give it a shot. And and next thing I was like, okay, what's my next move? I'm a junior in high school now, or I'm a senior now, and I'm like, you know what? What should I? I should do something. There's definitely a next move. I should try out for a play. I should try out for a play. I'll try out for the school play, but I can't tell any of my wrestling buddies about it because that's not cool or whatever.
Right.
Um, so I tried to keep it on the DL. I went into my first audition. Interview, I was calling it at the time because I really didn't know what an audition was, all the lingo. Um, but I auditioned for this play, and I come back, the next week. They got the names, printed up on the wall of who got what, and I'm looking down the list, and I'm like, okay, Jimmy Flint-Smith, the Bachelor King. Okay, that's weird because that's like the name of the play. There must be a misprint. This is a thought going through my head. I'm like, okay, well, then what did I get? So I go to the drama teacher at the time, and I'm like, "What's going on here? Why does it say the name of the play where my part is?" She's like, "Well, you're the Bachelor King." I'm like, "But that's the name of the play." I'm like, "But that's." She's like, "That's the part. The play's named after your character. You're the main character." I'm like, "Huh? That doesn't that doesn't make sense." I came to like hopefully get something, like maybe like a background or something, but I ended up being the main guy. So all of a sudden I was like kind of thrust into this world, and she's talking me through it, and it ended up coming real naturally. It was a great play. I was the local yokel Bachelor King, which was kind of funny because I mean, me being from the country, and this character's name was actually Yokel the Bachelor King. Um, but yeah, that's how I got involved, and I never looked back. I just kept going from there. It just became something that I fell in love with. I fell in love with the crowd, being on stage, just experimenting, learning about characters, and adapting and adopting them into my life. And it just became this beautiful thing. So that's where I started. And after I graduated college, because I wanted to get an education, I got 2 degrees and moved out here to LA and have been running and gunning ever since.
No, that's awesome.
Thanks. It was fun.
Now, what were your most favorite plays that you performed in, and what plays that you weren't really thrilled about doing, but you had to do it anyway?
Um, that's a good question. I'll tell you what. After The Bachelor King, and word had gotten out of the school, by the way. You can't keep something like that secret if you're like the main guy. So that was a new life for me. But I decided to continue with that. I did my first musical theater production of Guys and Dolls in college, or excuse me, in high school that next semester. Um, and that was fun, but it was a trial because I mean I was an a cappella choir at the time, but I've never considered myself really a singer. There's a lot of people who can sing way better than me. The shower is my domain. That's the best I get. Um, but so I mean that was a challenge. In college, I did Christmas Carol, and that was a lot of fun. Working with a new cast, new people, bigger, broader spectrum. We had an amazing theater program with a $40 million theater. It was very professional. I mean, I went to a private university, and they really put a lot of money into that. So that was cool. Playing with all the real deal stage. The Broadway level stage. So yeah, those were good. And I did another one when I got out to Los Angeles. That was tricky because it was in a black box theater. It was a lot smaller, and it's not that I didn't like it, but I'll tell you what, it was a lot different. It was more being thrust into it because one guy ended up like not showing up
Right.
or quitting the day before or something like that. So I had basically learned the entire play in a day. And let me tell you, it's not fun. I mean, you're just up there the whole time, just sweating bullets, like, oh God, I hope I don't forget this line. Or, like, what scene are we on? And no one wants to help you. They're like, okay, whatever, new kid. So, yeah, that's my theater experience, basically.
Right now, the next question I was going to ask you, in a couple minutes, I'm going to pass it back to you. But the next thing I was going to ask you, you also mentioned you were a stunt performer.
Hmm.
and how did that come about? And you're also an ambassador, a band. How did that come about?
Okay, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I was gonna come to that. The ambassador, the business, and the stunt performer. The stunt performer actually started with the History Channel and the PBS back in high school. Riding, and I actually learned how to fall off of a horse correctly to get shot. And fall like a champ, and how to deal with falling, jumping on different mounts. There's the Pony Express mount, which is where you actually start running with the horse, and before it gets up to top speed, you basically have to use your momentum, and it's very technical. But I just wanted to get creative. I've always wanted to try new things. In my off time, I like to write. I am teaching myself the piano. It's a slow process, but it's a beautiful instrument, so it's worth it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've worked a couple times with that. I worked on the set of a Warner Brothers production, which they've since changed the name. They do that sometimes. And I was shot in the head in that one, which was a lot of fun. They had, you know, the blood pumps going up the back of my head, and they're hidden and everything. And it got pretty brutal. I also had my head cut off in another production. Actually, I don't know if you say cut off, but split. It
Right.
was like hatchet go through it, which was neat because I actually had a double for me, which was a dummy that they made specifically for my face and my body type. Like they did a mold, so that was kind of neat. We used to screw with people. It was in the sticks where they filmed it, and it was fun. We like when we were not filming, the people sitting around the fire trying to get warm. We'd put like my coat on the dummy, and people we'd watch from a distance as people would like talk to it, and see how long it would take them to figure out. Oh, where's Jim? This isn't Jimmy. So that's kind of how I just kind of got creative with the stunts, and it's paid off sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, but um, it's always fun. It's never dull. Oh, and I also do trick roping and gun spinning, Old West style. Dad taught me, so I got to bring some of that out here to the Wild West, some of the Southern California beaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever, I was gonna say tied up any beautiful women, but wrestled up any, put
That's
any?
that's my favorite thing to do, man. Rope me up a girlfriend. That's the name of the game. But okay, so that's my stunts. Brand ambassador work is actually something I do in between films when I'm not on set, just to make a quick buck. But it's also a cool way to meet somebody and network. Um, it's basically, this is how I describe it. Red Bull girls.
Heard of it, but I don't remember it.
Like Red Bull girls, they go to sporting events, they give out cans of Red Bull.
All
Like,
right,
oh, here,
okay.
have a free Red Bull. It's fantastic. You're gonna love it. Gives you wings. No, 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 no. I basically do that with all kinds of brands. So I represent cars. We don't always give away cars, but we'll give away like a keychain or something like that. And we go to events and we create brand awareness. That's why I'm a brand ambassador, because I'm good at talking to people, and I like people, and I like sharing ideas with people. So it's a fun thing to do. So I got started in that, through a friend of a friend. Been doing that since college. My business, I'm assuming you're referring to Dare to Productions, is a production company that I started about 2 years ago. And it's basically just a way for like my personal projects to get off the ground. So when I did a web series a while back called Brothers, which I acted in, produced, wrote, and directed, and it nearly killed me, I had a production company to go through. And that was just me kind of getting my feet wet. I really didn't know where it was going to go or what I was going to do with it, but I knew I wanted to try it. And so far, so good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's the other one you're working on? Something about you mentioned one that you're working on, but there's another one. There's something about timing. Something about
Oh,
time.
on time marketing, that's
Yes.
on hiatus. We won't talk about
Ah.
that. My partner and I had a falling out, as it always, well, it often happens in this business, but I'm not going to cry over it. On to bigger and better things. But I'll tell you what, I do have a new project I'm working on, if I could talk about that for a second.
Sure.
It's called Backstabber, and it's a series I got cast in. It's an Amazon original series. Um, and it's basically, I mean, in a nutshell, I don't want to give away too much about it, but it's about acceptance. It takes place in high school, which is nice for me. I'm like, oh, I can still play high schooler, woohoo! I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but you can find out on my Facebook page. But you know, it's about acceptance. It's about the trials and tribulations of being young and going through the challenges that we all do in life. That we all do have, and that we all are faced with. Everyone has different challenges, and this show I actually really love it because it helps to promote that in a creative way that we can all relate to. So if you wanted to check that out, I mean, I can't give you like details on exactly when it's going to air because we're still filming the first season. But probably sometime in the spring, if you want to go ahead and check out like my Facebook page, I keep people up to date on that. So you can find out that way. Which is just my name, Jimmy Flint-Smith. You can search that and find me.
All right. Now, before I pass it over back to you, how hard was it being a endorser and just saying endorser ambassador? And do you think I have the potential of being an ambassador? And that's the first question. And the second one is for your films, I would love to be an extra if that's a possibility.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we can always use people. Um, it takes a whole team, and if that's what you want to do, then of course, yeah, no, I can definitely put in a word depending on what project we're working on. Um, so yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you what, with brand ambassador work, anybody who knows how to smile and have a good time can do it. So I have faith in you. So yeah, if you want, you can just hit me up about that and we can talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's the last 10 minutes left of the show. I'm going to pass it over to you. You can ask me anything if there's any other subjects you want to talk about. If you want to talk about your father, how he influenced you, and how he helped you break into the business. It's your time after all, so whatever you want to do.
Of course. I don't know. I guess I'll give a little broad something. Yeah, well, I guess how I got started, I kind of told you how I, came to being an actor and how that came to being my passion. I haven't really told you about my work ethic or about what acting means to me. So let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute.
All right.
From an early age, I learned what the value of a hard day's work was, and I learned that from my father, who is a very busy guy. He does all kinds of odd jobs and fun stuff that I got to go and help him out with as a kid, whether it be just feeding the horses at the break of dawn, in December when there's snow everywhere. Not fun, but it's got to be done. Horses got to eat, and whether it be that or putting up a log cabin. That was a hobby of his. We would take a log cabin that was scheduled for demolition, and we'd be like, no, 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 we'll take it. We took it down Lincoln log style, log by log, and put it on a trailer. Took it back out to the farm or whoever wanted one, and we'd put it back up. So that was fun. Stuff like that. It really builds character. And I didn't know it at the time, but I've learned so much from it. You just got to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Especially out here, there's nothing different. It's a different kind of job setting, but it's all about pushing yourself to the max and getting the job done at all costs. So, that's my work ethic, and I think there's a lot of people with great potential there. I've seen a lot of hard workers, and a lot of them are here in LA because, let's face it, it's not a practical job. It's not something a parent wants to hear when you're like, oh, I'm going to move to California. I'm going to move to Hollywood and be in movies. Like, wouldn't you rather be a doctor or something? Nah, we got plenty of them. No, so I guess that's, a good segue for me to talk about why acting is the career path that I chose. Again, it's a fun thing to do, but to me, honestly, putting yourself into another person's shoes and really demonstrating what makes that person tick, what that person cares about, where they come from, where they want to go, the challenges that they have. It's just a beautiful thing. There's so many different varieties of beauty and things that resonate in this world and in my heart. And acting to me is the most pure way for me to be someone else and represent someone else honestly and in a way that other people can learn a lesson from. You know, it's honestly like when it comes to films, darker films are great. Not like horror. I mean, those are fun too, but like an amazing film that I love is Requiem for a Dream because it talks about how drugs can affect people and how and even on a broader scale just how life can get you down sometimes and the way you react really it determines the rest of your life. And as sad as that movie was, it was beautiful. The sounds, the colors, everything. It was very artistic. So I mean that would be the type of film that I would like to do. Though right now, I'm kind of comical stuff. I'm like the frat guy or the guy next door. The young guy, which is cool. I got plenty of time to do dark. Speaking of which, I was just in a horror film called The X Species, which again, we'll see when it comes out. Check out my Facebook or my Twitter at RascallyRabbit1, Instagram RascallyRabbit12. Check it out. But yeah, I mean that's what acting is to me. It's being beautiful and being true to humanity.
All
Yeah.
right. Now, wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you like to share to you about, or any words of wisdom about people who want to follow in your footsteps? Because you are an inspiration for people saying hard work matters, and
Uh,
you are a country. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
And you are a country boy, and well, you're just saying from what I'm just guessing you're a country boy. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. You'd never know it. I don't have the accent or anything, but if you see where I come from, you'd understand. It's a
But
beautiful town, great people, but very different from LA.
absolutely, no disrespect. But I was gonna say, you talk about hard work and being very passionate. It's really different. I can tell you how different it is because you grew up with family, and we both have family values. But you know what hard work is to waking up at the crack of dawn and doing hard chores. And it's different from someone like me who lives in the suburbs, who lives at home. Yes, I know the value of hard work. I'm working on the talk show 24/7 and showing people with a learning disability. And I'm always coming up with new ways of showing people, saying, you should watch my show. When I give you a perfect example. When I first started, everything I use Skype on my phone, so I record the image from the phone to the camera. That was all season one. Season two, it was from the computer to the camera. Now season three, because I wised up, Skype now has a video recorder, so that's what I'm doing now. So when it finally comes out, when I send you the video, it's gonna be a cut down the middle. You're on one side, I'm on the other. So if you see like Fox News, CNN, it looks more professional. So it took 3 years, but I constantly involved over it, and I know the value of hard work, and
Hmm.
so do you. Now, for people who want to know from you and me, especially you, because you are an inspiration,
Thank you.
what would be the next step? How would they start their career like you, and what would be the life lessons?
I'm really glad you asked that actually, because that's one of my life goals is to kind of spread that message. Because I'll tell you what, getting started is the hardest part. Like anything, just getting the ball rolling. Um, but anyone can do that. Anyone has that opportunity. And if I were to say something to anyone who is looking at being an actor or whatever, I would say just figure out what you want in life, whatever it is, whatever you want to be. If you want to be an actor or musician or a teacher, a policeman, a plumber. I mean, really, whatever you want to do, just do it. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because guess what? The only person who's, driving, is you. You're the only one who's really calling the shots. We've all got pressure. We've all got obstacles to overcome. Mine, one of my big ones out here, and it's going to sound really weird, I'm sure to someone not in the industry, but being tall, it actually really goes against me a lot of the time because, believe it or not, a lot of big time actors are a little shorter. I mean, they're great. I mean, Tom Cruise, for example, is an incredible actor, but I mean, he's what 5'5", 5'7", something like that. And if I were to stand next to him, I would dwarf him. So I've had that problem sometimes. So it can be tricky, but you know what? That doesn't deter me. It's like, okay, not the right project for me. Move on. So for other people, like thinking, oh, I'm too short, or I have the wrong hair color, eye color. I'm too overweight. I'm too underweight. Blah 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 blah. I have the wrong accent. Just keep moving, because there's only you're gonna go through so many no's until you get a yes. It's a numbers game. So really, just stick with it. Again, figure out exactly what you want in life and go for it, and don't let anyone tell you anything else, because you'll get there if you have the willpower. Just stick with it, guys. Just do it. You can do it.